Ačiū lietuviškai. Sveiki visi, labai dėkui, kad atėjote, atsiprašom dėl vertimo. Šiandien turim ypatingus svečius, labai ypatingus, kurie pardavė krūvas knygų visame pasaulyje. Ir ne tik knygų, bet ir jie yra labai talentingi scenaristai. Ir šiandien labai noriu pasišnekėti su jais apie tai, kokia sąsaja yra tarp knygų rašymo ir scenarijaus rašymo ir serialų. Tai jums leidus aš pradėsiu angliškai. I just introduce you as a very talented writers and script writers as well. But so you are. That's why I want to talk with you about the script writing and writing books. Okay?
Yeah.
Nowadays, the TV series or serials, as we call it, they compete with books. I myself often want to watch a TV, like a TV series, not read the books. What impact do those TV series make to writing books? How do those TV series affect writing of books?
To us, you mean? It's hard for us to answer because we started off writing scripts for TV and film, so we brought in the thinking of the same thinking when we started to write books. But I also think it affects because when you write for TV, you have to be very effective. You have to want to look at the next episode, and if you take that into writing detective stories, it's very. I think it's a successful way of thinking in script when you write a book, but you have to do it in another way.
I don't think, I don't actually think that, if you mean that TV series affects the way books are written now.
That's one.
Yep.
I can't really see that. How do you have an idea of why they should do that? I mean. No, I can't see how.
Because people like to watch movies, watch the TV series.
Yes.
Quick action, mysteries, and all that kind of stuff. So they could love that in the books as well.
Yeah.
Aha, you mean so writers are trying to copy TV language or TV structure in books to attend readers.
Yes.
Use cliffhangers and so on, and we do that.
Maybe, yeah.
So could you please tell a short story about how you became writers?
How do you became writers? Well, I've been written all my life, or since I was about 15 years, and so I have written almost all kinds of texts. I also was a journalist from the beginning, and I write scripts and film scripts, and I write novels, and I've written poetry, and now
even songs, right?
Sorry?
Even songs.
A lot of songs. I've written a lot of song texts. So I have been writing all my life. Actually, I have never had another, or as my parents used to say, a real job. I have been living on my writing all my life. And you?
I started off as a script supervisor at the state television drama section. So I worked with film and TV for many years, and we met during that time. And I started to write while I was still working at the state television. And I started off writing for soap operas, which was a very good school because there were so many people writing, and you have to be very effective all the time. And when we met we started to write together, we started off writing crime stories for Swedish television.
Mm-hmm. And why did you choose to write about crime?
Thrilling.
No, I've always liked crime, reading crime.
Okay.
That was in my home. That was not the only kind of books, but my parents read a lot of crime. They call it, I don't know if you had it here, Manhattan. It's a paperback novels. I was raised by these books, and so I've always loved. And then I think we both like riddles.
Yeah.
And murder.
Not that much, but the riddle I like.
Yeah.
And solving the riddle is always, and it's very fun to do together when you're two persons, because you can always, it's much faster work with two people working on the same construction of a story. Yeah, I think
and it's
I like
also
the construction. I like to do the construction, and to see it begins with that and it ends there. Mm-hmm. And we have to
so
fill
you're connecting
everything.
all the dots, right?
Yeah.
And then I think that crime novels is one of the best way to describe society. All our books are extremely contemporary. We always write about things that happens exactly when we are writing the book. Like the last one now, the 8th book is about Ukrainian refugees and what happens to the women when they are used in trafficking and things. So we always take a topic that is very actual, very contemporary. And in crime, I think crime is a very, very effective way of describing the society and what happens in the society.
Okay, do you know, can you describe the formula of success of Scandinavian crime?
No.
No, really.
I don't know.
It's very hard.
We had two writers, Sjöwall Wahlöö was their name, and they had a character named Martin Beck, and they wrote
in the 60s.
They wrote in the 60s, and they wrote 10 novels about him, and they and this American writer, what's his name, Ed McBain, were the only, or the first one to write about ordinary policemen, not detectives. Before that, it's always been detectives in the novels, Raymond Chandler and all them. But they introduced ordinary policemen and ordinary policemen's work, and they were very big. And then we had like Henning Mankell, and then we have, of course, Stig Larsson, and so I don't know exactly why. We have often had that question: why Nordic noir? Why we're so successful? Maybe we I don't know. We could describe darkness because we have so much darkness. I don't know.
But I think also it's a tradition. Now it has become a tradition.
Now it's a tradition. Yeah.
Everyone wants to write crime in Sweden. So there are so many books, crime books, every year. New authors and old ones and so on.
Mm-hmm. Are there any differences between Swedish, Norwegian or Danish crime?
No, I think it depends on the writer. Because not all Swedish writers write like we do, contemporary, taking what's actual at the time we're writing. Other could write more nice, cozy crimes or different kind of crime writing. And I think we are similar to the Norwegian and the Danes.
Very much. So.
I think it's the same tradition, really.
Okay, but when you write about contemporary things, you don't have much time to investigate all the things, right?
No.
So how you do it?
Internet.
We are fast. No, I mean, we have time to you mean doing the research or to do, well, like internet or like contacts we have around. I don't find that a problem, rather the opposite. When you are dealing with a contemporary question or contemporary crime, you've got a lot of fresh information all the time about what's happening from the news world or from the media or from the internet or whatever. So I think it's for us it's a benefit to dealing with contemporary problems.
Mm-hmm. Which is more fun, to write a script or a book?
A book.
Why is that?
Perhaps if you asked me a few years ago, I would said the other way around. I don't know. But we stopped writing scripts because we wanted to own our own story. And when you write a script, there are so many people, producers, directors, there's so many people involved that, and they want to
change everything.
So what you write is not always the product in the end is not always what you intended as a writer. But when you write a book, you have the text delivered to the reader exactly the way we want you to read.
But you still think about those books in terms of the TV series, right?
We think about them. When we write, we very much think in scenes. We project scenes in our head when we are writing, like we did when we did film writing and TV writing. And we very much do the constructions the same way. We always have cliffhangers in every chapter and things like that, which comes from our experiences as film and TV writers.
Mm-hmm. Now back to your books. Which book is, the dearest to you?
Of these, we have written 8 now. We just, you have 3 here, but we have just finished our 8th book. I think we like that one very much, but we like the number 4 in this series. I don't know what it's called in...
Sleep Little Willow.
Yes, Sleep
It's
Little
coming...
Little Willow.
Yeah, and it's coming here in now in spring.
Lietuviškai tai bus Lopšinė.
I think that's the one I like the most.
Yeah, me too.
Why?
Because we wrote it when there was a big refugee coming from Syria in 2015, and it was very actual. We took it, the topic, picked the topic and took it a bit further than it in real life. But it's a story both about the refugees and a refugee from Nigeria as well.
Mm.
And I think it's a very tough story, but it's also much...
It's about harvesting organ. They are taking refugees and take them to...
Don't spoil.
No, but that's about it. And then they are taking their organs and selling the organs on the world market and dump them in graves. Well, I like that.
But there must be some true facts behind those.
Of course,
stories, right?
Of course, there is. The organ market, harvesting organ, is one of the most, after drugs or weapon, I think selling organs is the most criminal business in the world.
Not in Sweden, though.
No. So we had a lot of figures when we researched, and we picked up all these. It's brutal and cruel, but that's what's happening.
But there must be dangerous to do the research about those organ harvesting.
Well, we are not meeting the actual excellent people doing that, no.
Okay. Yesterday, when we spoke, and I asked about Sweden, you said that Sweden has the highest ratio of killings in the world.
No, in Europe.
In Europe. Okay. Can you tell?
So the picture of Sweden is a bit has changed the last years, because we have many problems with shootings and gangs in the suburbs and so on, and that's very sad. That is the truth.
Okay, but it gives you like more facts to write about.
Well, we are not very interested in gang conflicts or gangster conflicts. We don't think that's very interesting. There are other writers in Sweden who writes very good about that. We are not that interested in those kind of conflicts.
And we don't know that much about it.
We don't know that much about it.
There are other people much better writing about that.
You live kind of a seclusive life. Well, you don't have social media. You rarely do interviews, as I read. Why is that?
Integrity.
Integrity.
Yes.
You have no need for social media?
No, not at all.
No, actually not. Sometimes it would be nice to have contact with some old friends or something, but no, I don't think. We don't need it. It was a choice from the beginning. We didn't want it, so and then we're doing it. We can have a happy life without it.
Yeah, I mean, when you see what's happening with the social media, I think you are thankful that you are not out there, actually. And well, we don't like it. Of course, we should sell a lot of more books, probably, if we could use the internet, if we could use Instagram, if we could use Twitter or TikTok or whatever to talk about it and showing our books like that, but we don't think it's worth it. A lot of people writing, twittering about us, we don't like that. Who does?
Well, some
Actually.
people do.
Yeah, I don't really understand that. And then people complain, oh, they are so mean to us, or they are saying this and that. Well, why are you out there?
So, how do you live? Can you tell us a bit more?
How we live?
Yeah.
We live in a house outside Stockholm. A rather big house because we are working at home. And our daughter has moved. And we have a cat. Now we have
and
4.
Garden.
And my wife is a gardener. She loves to be in the garden as much as possible, and we write most of the time. And when we don't, we like do the gardening, and we like fishing, fly fishing, go up in the mountains fishing, and we like very much to go in the woods and picking mushrooms.
Oh,
like that.
That's what we have something in common, Lithuanians and Swedes, I suppose.
Okay.
Right. Okay. What is the way to write a book that would compete with a TV series?
How to write a book? I don't think.
Why should I pick a book instead of watching TV series?
Well, depends on who you are. I mean, fewer and fewer people are actually reading today, especially the young people. Fewer and fewer are reading, and more are listening to audiobooks, for example, but not even that. And I think that reading a book is not a completely different, but I think it's a different experience from watching a TV series.
It's more of contemplation, I think, to read a book. I mean, you know, your characters, you have to use your own imagination to imagine the characters, or it's another thing to see them on TV or something.
So a book gives you freedom to imagine.
Yeah, I think so.
Much more.
That's, I mean, they always say that the book is better than the film, and that's because of many things. But I think one thing is that if you have read a book and then watch a movie, perhaps you get disappointed because you have something totally different in your mind. I mean, the main person character doesn't look the way you thought he or she looked, and so on. And I also think that the contemplation to sit and read a book is much better for your brain.
And I think that you could talk about more complicated problems in a book than you can do in a TV series, for many reasons. You could develop a special idea for chapter after chapter, filtrating it through different characters. It's much harder to do that in a TV series where you are expected to have a certain tempo, and you know that if you're not enough interested, people change channels, and so that's a different when you have a book.
So which is easier then, to write a book or to write a script?
Well, for us, I mean, we've been writing scripts for 25 years or whatever. I think it's very difficult to write scripts, to write good scripts. People sometimes don't think that, but
that's hard.
It's very hard to write good script, actually.
And good dialogue is very hard to write.
Yeah, organic, natural dialogue is not that easy to write. But of course, in film, you often have help from the actors and from the directors to make the dialogue work. But it's then again, writing a book is we wrote a book which was not a crime, an ordinary novel, a year ago, and we did that for 2 months, or 1 month, no, 3 months. Maybe it took. It just flow out. So sometimes it could be very easy to write a book, depending on the topic.
And sometimes it's hard when you, as we do, write one book a year, and when you just left one book, you have to start with another one, and sometimes it's very hard to find the topic you want to into the next book. Sometimes that could be very, very hard to find. What shall we do this time?
And who does that mostly?
We both do actually. We try to I mean, we walk and talk initially, very much. What is it going to be about? Reading papers, reading everything we can find new ideas. And when we've found what we want to have as a topic in this specific novel, we try to do, we have our study, our working room. We have 2 big whiteboards where we write down everything, and then after that we write what every chapter should be about. We don't write every chapter, but we write shortly what it should be about. And then after a while we have the construction of the whole novel.
Actually, we have the whole story, the whole construction, at more or less ready before we start to actually write.
Mm. It's because we are two persons writing the same story. You have to be very thoroughly with the construction. You couldn't sit and write different things that you couldn't be together. So we write. I could choose to write a chapter, or I could choose to write about follow a character throughout the novel. But every day I read what Rolf has written, and he reads what I have written. So you shouldn't see that we are two persons writing in the book. It should, when you read it, should feel like it's one author. And I think we have worked out a style for these 30 years that we can use the same language and so on. So, yeah, I think has been a successful way so far.
What about the characters? Well, they're female and male characters, right? Mm-hmm. So who does which character?
It's different, actually, from book to book. Sometimes I write the females and you do the male, but not always. And I think we choose, when we started off writing about, this is about Tom Stilton and Olivia Running. And in the first book, Olivia Running is going to the police academy. She's not a police officer yet, and Tom Stilton is actually homeless. He's a former chief commander and chief inspector, and he's living on the street. So the first book, they two meet each other, but we don't have a police station where everybody works together from the beginning. We have different characters in different ages and different sex. But we have a group that we always followed all the novels, and it's Olivia, the youngest one, and it's Tom Stilton, who gets better and better throughout the book. He's homeless in the first one. And then we have a chief commander, older woman, Metų Olsäter. And then we have you couldn't say hitman, but undercover guy.
A croupier.
Mm.
Do you have friends, policemen?
Yeah.
Mm. How do
neighbors?
How do they react to your books?
Good, I think.
Yeah.
At least those who talk to us.
They don't dare to say anything else. Now we have a neighbor and a friend, and he's also a friend, that has helped us a lot. And from the beginning, when we wrote the first book, we actually met with who became a friend, a young girl that went to the police academy. So she was the model for Olivia Running from the beginning.
Is the policeman a popular profession in Sweden?
It's become very popular over the years now.
Because of your books?
Of course. Now it's become, let's say, 10, 15 years. Many young people want to be police.
And we need them more police.
Yeah, we need a lot of them.
Because of that, all immigration problems, or why?
Because the problems we have in the society, yes. We have a few, we have, we have small or too thin resources for the police, like we have for the healthcare and schools also. But I think that's quite common over Europe, I think.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. We had a hard time coping with the pandemic, with COVID. How did you do? What did you do? How did you do? How did you manage to survive all this period?
We didn't have that much of a problem because we always live and write in the same house. The difference was that we couldn't meet with our friends that much as we did. But Sweden also, we had a very light version. We didn't have the lockdowns as you had, I think. We had didn't have that many restrictions. But we moved actually out to our country house in the archipelago in Stockholm, and we lived there for 8-10 months of the year. So, but in the summer we could meet people. It wasn't a problem when we were outside. We didn't have that kind of lockdown in Sweden.
But I've read that this COVID thing is in your book, right?
Yeah.
The book before
The seventh
book, the Merciful Samaritan, it's called. It's about the COVID. It's about the pandemic.
We wrote it.
It's about lots about these conspiracy theories.
Oh.
Yeah. Much about them. Because the pandemic was actually when we were writing the book, so it's about that.
All right, I see. Okay, I'm running out of the questions, actually.
Good.
But jeigu turit kas klausimų, tai mielai atsakysim.
Aš tiesiog ilgai užtruks, kol sugalvosiu, kaip paklausti angliškai. Daug detektyvų rašytojų, ypatingai skandinavų ir pas juos turi serijas knygų, kuriuose veikia vienas, tarkim šiuo atveju, tam 3 yra pagrindiniai herojai, kurie yra detektyvai. Kodėl? Ar tai yra lengviau negu kiekvieną knygą sugalvoti skirtingą?
In many Scandinavian crime writers use the same characters in the series of the books. Why is that? Is it because easier to write about the same character than to create a new one?
No, I think actually it was like this when we came to our publisher. They said from the beginning, you must write more than one book because we have to have a series. Because perhaps it's after book 4 people start to read. If they don't know you from the beginning, they start reading you after 4 or 5 books. So when we wrote the first one, we had a deal for 3 books. I think it's like a TV series. If you start to like the persons, it's easier for a publisher to
and then I think it's interesting for a writer to have the opportunity to develop characters over the years and follow them through a lot of phases in life. That's interesting for a writer to do that. And like now we have followed them for 10 years, and we are still curious at some point on our characters. What happens if we put them in this situation? How are they going to react and so on?
And I think also for the readers, because very many readers like to follow the characters, and they don't care that much about the crime. They care about our characters because they
become like cartoon figures for them, friends.
And also to us.
Yeah. That's why it's so hard to kill your main characters, actually.
Okay. Aš norėjau paklausti, šį pirmą kartą su rašytojais susitinku, nusipirku knygą Potvynis. Koks eiliškumas, kuri pirma išleista, nes tikrai nieko nežinau. Dabar Potvynį nusipirku, tai čia pirma išleista?
All right. The lady asks about the books, which is the first, which is the second, which is the third of this.
I think they are in order. I think this one is the first one, second one, and the third one. And the fourth is coming soon.
And they are written like you could read them separately, of course. But for us, it's much more rewarding if you read them from the beginning because of the characters' development and relations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
In the first book, it happens. It's very much about Olivia running the young girl at the police academy, and her destiny in the first book. So I think it's good to know what happens to her in the first book when you read the second. You get a small recap, I think, in the second book about what happened, but it's nicer to have the story about her.
Yesterday I bought POTVYNIO, so it's the first time.
Yeah.
Understand.
I also have a question. When my mom said that you both are writing a book, and the first question that came up to my mind, how do you decide things, how to write? Because I believe that you both have different ideas. How do you manage to decide things, how to write?
We fight. No, we of course we have different ideas, and we discuss them, and sometimes when we have different solutions to a problem, we write both solutions, and then we compare them, and then obviously it's very obvious which one is the best of them. So and we have very little conflicts actually, because I think we have worked together for so many years, and we are a couple too. So we don't have any conflicts in the sense that one stops writing or something like that. So no, I think working two is very productive, actually, because also you have your first reader within hands. When I write something, my first reader is already there. So and you can get an immediate reaction on what you have written, which is a big benefit.
Dar bus klausimų? Jeigu ne, tai dėkui labai.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Well, and I hope we'll see you in maybe next year.
Yeah.
You never know.
Dėkui.
Thank you very much.